Open your refrigerator door right now, and there is a good chance you are standing just a few inches away from one of the most powerful muscle-building foods in the world, and it costs less than a cup of coffee. It is plain. It is humble. Most people walk right past it on their way to the eggs. But while you sleep tonight, this quiet little food can keep feeding your aging muscles for hours, drip by drip, long after you have turned off the light. And there is real, published science behind that promise. In a carefully controlled study of older men with an average age of 72, taking this kind of slow protein before bed raised the rate at which their bodies built new muscle overnight by about 22%. Not in a laboratory shake, not in a young athlete, in ordinary older men while they slept. The food I am talking about is cottage cheese, and by the end of these few minutes, you may never look at it the same way again. I am Dr. Grace Carter. For more than 17 years, I have worked in clinical nutrition and internal medicine, sitting across from people over 60 who told me the same quiet fear again and again. They said, "Doctor, I am getting weaker. My legs feel unsteady. I cannot open the jar anymore. I cannot rise from the chair the way I used to." They were not lazy, and they were not imagining it. Their muscles were genuinely slipping away, year after year, and almost no one had told them that what they put on their plate could slow it down, or even turn it around. So if any of that sounds like you, I want you to settle in and stay with me, because what I am about to explain is simple, it is honest, and you can start tonight. Before we go further, if you find it helpful when a doctor explains things in plain, calm language without trying to sell you a pill, please take 1 second to tap like and subscribe. It genuinely helps me reach more older adults who need to hear this, and it costs you nothing at all. Now let me tell you why your muscles are the real key to staying independent. Because once you understand this, everything else will make sense. There is a slow, quiet process that begins in most of us somewhere after the age of 40, and it speeds up after 60. Doctors call it sarcopenia. It simply means the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength as we age. It does not announce itself. There is no pain, no warning, no single bad day. You just notice, little by little, that the stairs feel steeper, the grocery bag feels heavier, and standing up from a low couch takes a small push of effort it never used to. Left unchecked, this is the road that leads to falls, to broken hips, to walkers, and to losing the freedom to live in your own home on your own terms. I tell you this not to frighten you, but to be honest with you, because the loss is real, and so is the solution. Here is the part that gives me hope, and that I want to give to you. Muscle is not like a tooth that once gone is gone forever. Muscle is alive. It is constantly being broken down and rebuilt, every single day, all through your life. Think of your muscle like an old stone wall that a careful mason tends to. Every day a few stones fall out, and every day the mason sets new ones back in their place. When you are young, the mason works quickly, and the wall stays strong and full. As you age, the mason slows down and grows a little forgetful, and unless you give him good materials and a reason to keep working, more stones come out each day than go back in. The wall thins. That thinning is muscle loss. And the single most important material you can hand, that mason, is protein. Now, protein from food is broken down in your body into smaller pieces called amino acids. Think of amino acids as the individual bricks the mason uses to rebuild your wall. Among all of those bricks, there is one that acts like the foreman who shows up and shouts, "All right, everyone, back to work, let us start building." That foreman is an amino acid called leucine. Leucine is the trigger that switches on muscle building, and here is something most people over 60 have never been told. As we age, our muscles become a little hard of hearing. They need a louder signal than they used to. A young person can build muscle from a small bit of protein, but an older body needs a bigger, clearer push of protein and enough of that leucine foreman to get the same response. This is one of the real reasons older adults lose muscle even when they feel they are eating enough. So how much protein do you actually need? For years, the official advice was honestly set too low for older bodies. A leading group of doctors and researchers who study aging, known as the PROT-AGE group, looked hard at the evidence and recommended that healthy older adults aim for at least 1.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight every day. To make that real, a person who weighs around 70 kilograms, which is roughly 155 pounds, would be aiming for somewhere around 84 grams of protein across the whole day. For many of my patients, that is noticeably more protein than they were getting, and it surprised them to learn how short they had been falling. And just as important as the total amount is spreading it out. Your muscles can only respond to so much protein at one sitting, so the smart approach is a solid serving of protein at each meal, so the mason has fresh materials morning, noon, and night, instead of one big delivery and then nothing for the rest of the day. The same researchers point to a threshold of roughly 25 to 30 grams of good protein per meal, with enough leucine in it to switch muscle building on in an older body. A single cup of cottage cheese all by itself lands you right in that target range. That is part of why it is such an elegant little tool. It is not just protein, it is the right amount of the right kind, in one easy bowl. And this is exactly where eggs, for all their fame, quietly fall short. Now hear me clearly. I am not against eggs. Eggs are a fine food, and I eat them myself. But eggs have been placed on a pedestal they do not fully deserve for the aging body. A single large egg gives you only about 6 grams of protein. To reach the protein your muscles truly need at a meal, you would have to eat 3 or 4 of them, and egg protein is fast protein. It is digested quickly, it gives your muscles one bright flash of building material, and then it is gone. For a young athlete, that flash is fine, but for an older body that is losing muscle a little every night, one quick flash and then a long empty stretch is not the answer. We need something steadier, and that brings us back to the quiet food waiting in your refrigerator. Cottage cheese is built almost perfectly for the aging muscle, and the reason is the kind of protein it contains. Most of the protein in cottage cheese is something called casein, and casein has a remarkable property. When it reaches your stomach, it gently thickens and forms a soft curd, almost like a slow-dissolving lozenge. Instead of flooding your blood with amino acids all at once and then vanishing, casein releases its bricks slowly and steadily over many hours. Picture the difference between throwing a whole bucket of water on a plant, where most of it just runs off the soil, versus a slow drip that soaks in all afternoon. Eggs are the bucket. Cottage cheese is the slow drip. And for muscle that needs feeding through the long fasting hours of the night, that slow drip is exactly what nature ordered. Let me put a real number on why this matters so much. A single cup of cottage cheese gives you roughly 25 grams of high-quality protein. That is more than 4 eggs, from one simple bowl with no cooking, no cracking, and no stove. It is naturally rich in that leucine formin we talked about, so it speaks to your muscles in the loud, clear voice an older body needs. And it carries calcium and phosphorus along with it, 2 minerals that strengthen the very bones your muscles pull against. So in one cheap, soft, easy-to-eat food, you get the slow protein, the muscle-building signal, and the bone support all together. Now here is where the science gets genuinely exciting, and where that 22% figure I mentioned at the start comes from. Researchers wanted to know what happens to muscle while older men sleep. They gathered older men, average age 72, and gave some of them a dose of casein protein, the very protein in cottage cheese, about 30 minutes before bed. Then they measured how fast the men's bodies built new muscle through the night. The result was clear. The men who took the slow casein protein before sleep built new muscle through the night at a rate about 22% higher than the men who did not, while they were simply lying there asleep. That slow drip of protein kept the mason quietly setting stones back into the wall, hour after hour. Their muscles were repairing and growing in the dark, fed by a food you can buy for a couple of dollars. This is so important for older adults because the night is the longest stretch you ever go without eating. You finish dinner, and then for 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours, no new building materials arrive. During that long fast, the breakdown side of the wall keeps going while the rebuilding side runs out of bricks. A small serving of cottage cheese before bed is like leaving the mason a full bucket of stones to work with all night long. That is the simple, powerful idea behind eating it in the evening. Let me tell you about one of my patients, because she made this real for me. I will call her Ruth. Ruth was 74, and she came to me worried and a little ashamed because she had started to dread getting up from her armchair. Her legs felt weak and rubbery, and she had nearly fallen twice reaching for the kitchen counter to steady herself. She was eating, she told me, but when we looked closely, her protein was tiny, scattered, mostly a bit of toast and tea. So we made one small change to start. Half a cup of cottage cheese as an evening snack, most nights, about an hour before bed. Nothing else at first. When Ruth came back to see me some weeks later, she told me her mornings felt different. Her legs did not feel as stiff and heavy when she first stood up, and she had stopped dreading that armchair. Now, cottage cheese alone did not do everything. We later added gentle movement too. But that one cheap soft food was the doorway that got her started, and the change in her face was something I will not forget. So let me show you exactly how to use this, in plain steps you can follow tonight. The simplest place to begin is 1 serving of cottage cheese in the evening, somewhere between half a cup and a full cup, ideally about 30 to 60 minutes before you go to sleep. That timing lets the slow casein be working through the early part of your night. If a full cup feels like too much, start with half a cup. Something is far better than nothing. Now let me save you from the few common mistakes I see, so you do not waste your effort. The first mistake is treating this as your only protein for the day. Cottage cheese before bed is the anchor, but your muscles still need protein at breakfast and lunch too, so the mason has materials at every meal, not just at night. The second mistake is reaching only for the fat-free version because it sounds healthier. A little fat actually slows digestion even more, which for this purpose is helpful, and it tastes better, so you will actually keep doing it. Low-fat or regular cottage cheese is perfectly good here. The third mistake is the salt. Some cottage cheese is very high in sodium, which matters if you have high blood pressure, so look for a lower sodium tub when you can. And the fourth mistake is expecting a miracle by Friday. This works the way the seasons work, quietly and steadily. Give it weeks, not days, and stay with it. Let me also make it taste good, because a food you dislike is a food you will quit. If plain cottage cheese is not for you, stir in a handful of berries or a few slices of banana for something sweet. Or go the other way and add a sprinkle of black pepper, a little chopped tomato, or a few chives for something savory. You can spread it on whole grain toast, swirl it into a bowl of soup, or blend it smooth if you do not like the texture of the curds. There is no single right way. The right way is the way you will happily repeat. Now, I promised you honesty, so here is the important safety part, and please do not skip it. For most older adults, cottage cheese is one of the safest foods you can add. But there is one group who must check with their own doctor first, and that is anyone with kidney disease or reduced kidney function. If your kidneys are not working well, the amount of protein you should eat may need to be carefully limited and managed by your physician, and more protein is not automatically better for you. So if you have any kidney condition, please bring this idea to your own doctor before you add extra protein, and let them guide the right amount for your body. The same goes if you have been told to follow a low sodium or special diet for any reason. And of course, if you have a dairy allergy or severe lactose intolerance, cottage cheese is not your food, though many people who are mildly sensitive tolerate it better than milk because of how it is made. When in doubt, ask the doctor who knows your history. Here is the one trick that turns a good idea into a lasting habit, because knowing and doing are two very different things. Attach your cottage cheese to something you already do every single night. Maybe you always watch the evening news, or you always make a cup of decaf tea, or you always take an evening pill. Let that existing moment be your signal. The news comes on, and you fix your little bowl of cottage cheese. You are not adding a new chore to remember. You are gently parking a healthy habit next to one that is already automatic, and that is how it sticks for good. And here is a small bonus that stacks right on top, and makes the whole thing far more powerful. Protein gives your muscles the bricks, but they will not truly grow unless you also give them a reason to. So pair your evening cottage cheese with a little gentle resistance during your day. It does not mean a gym. It can be as simple as standing up and sitting down from a sturdy chair 10 times, or doing a few slow heel raises while you hold the counter, or carrying your groceries a bit farther. That gentle effort tells the mason which part of the wall to reinforce, and then the protein at night gives him the stones to do it. Movement and protein together are far stronger than either one alone. So let me bring this all together for you. As we age, we slowly lose muscle, and that quiet loss is what steals our balance, our strength, and our independence. But muscle is alive, and it rebuilds every day if you give it the right materials. The best material is protein, with enough of the leucine signal to reach older muscles that have grown a little hard of hearing. Eggs are fine, but they are a quick flash. Cottage cheese is a slow, steady drip of casein protein that can feed your muscles for hours, even all through the night, and a real study in older men showed it raised overnight muscle building by about 22%. One cheap bowl gives you more protein than 4 eggs, plus calcium and phosphorus for your bones. It costs almost nothing. It asks almost nothing of you, and it may help protect the very things you most want to keep as the years go on. your strength, your steadiness on your feet, and your freedom to live life your own way. If this was helpful to you, and you would like more simple, honest explanations like this one, please subscribe and join us here. This channel exists to help you stay strong, nourished, and independent well past 60, and I would be honored to walk part of that road with you. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. A quick and important note before you go. This video is for general educational and informational purposes only, and it is not medical advice. Always speak with your own qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your diet, especially if you have kidney disease or any other medical condition. Your doctor knows your body, so bring this idea to them and let them help you use it safely.